What are you holding? Oh, this? Just my trusty pancake lens. Call that a pancake? This is a pancake. That's not a pancake lens. That's a mouse. Ah, I see you've played mousy pancake before. We all know that the best camera is the one that you carry with you.
The best camera is the one that's with you.
Of course, you could say, why not just use your smartphone? And as good as phone cameras are getting, and we have some apps that do make the shooting experience more enjoyable, nothing compares to having a dedicated camera to practice photography with. Something that I can't get distracted and go into another app and just start wasting time. For me, phone cameras just don't ignite my creativity in the same way, whether it's going into a time-wasting app or just getting distracted in the actual camera app itself. So what I'm always looking for is something that can turn my capable, dedicated camera into something that's easier to carry. But what does that even look like? I found a pancake lens for myself. Ah, so they discontinued your camera system as well, hey? No. Micro Four Thirds mount is alive and well. Sure it is. Don't worry, we're all the same here. Hey, new cameras got announced earlier this year. And lenses. Are the lenses in the room with us now? Enter the Canon 22mm f2 EOS M mount lens. This, of course, was designed for Canon's EOS M line of cameras, and even though they discontinued this line of cameras, this lens itself actually has a bit of a cult following, and I think you'll understand why. Now, if you look across lens mounts or just camera systems, you're going to find pancake lenses across the board, whether it's for Micro Four Thirds, like this little Olympus 17mm 2.8, or a DSLR style pancake lens, like the classic Canon 40mm pancake for Canon DSLRs. We've always been looking for ways to make large camera systems as small as possible to make them easier to carry, but sometimes with some trade-offs. Of course, the 22mm is designed to be paired with the EOS M line of cameras, like this M6 that I have here. And when paired with these kind of smaller, rangefinder style mirrorless cameras, it makes for a very compelling setup, especially when you take into account the waist level LCD viewfinder, not like the fully articulating stuff, and the touchscreen interface. I really wish that we had more new versions of this camera for Canon EOS R, for example, the RF mount. I think this is such a compelling value proposition, and overall the Canon way of shooting does make street photography much more enjoyable, especially when paired with a lens like this. Now, I say they make street photography more enjoyable, primarily actually for the colours on the back of the screen, which we're going to talk about a little bit later. But one problem this camera does have, this model in particular, is that we don't have an electronic shutter. So you do have a loud shutter that sounds a bit like this. A bit too much for me when it comes to street photography, and it can make some situations on the street a little bit more difficult. But at least with a camera this small and a lens this capable, we have fewer excuses to stop ourselves from getting out there and practicing our street photography. Now, I've been practicing street photography for a few years now, and the more I learn, the more I realise there is to learn. So I've been finding this class from Troy Baird on Skillshare incredibly helpful. Troy's tips on blurring genres in his chapter on inspiration sources were interesting and made me think much more about my approach to quieter scenes when practicing photography. Because while here in Japan, I wanted to also explore more rural areas with fewer people, looking a little bit less like street photography, which is quite different to my usual style of very busy street scenes. Skillshare has a variety of classes from fantastic creators just like Troy, whether you're diving into video editing, entrepreneurship, or learning to draw for the first time. Skillshare is designed to develop your creativity by learning from real creatives with valuable experience. The first 500 people to use my link in the description or scan the QR code will receive a 1-month free trial of Skillshare, plus 20% off your first year, so get started today. This isn't the Canon camera that I remember. Aren't they usually bigger and more professional? Yeah, you're right. Usually a bit bigger than your Micro Four Thirds mount cameras. No IBIS though, I guess. Well, yeah, you've got me there. Classic. Does make you wonder what photographers did for 100 years before IBIS was invented. I dread to even think of it. The problem I find myself running into here is whether or not this pancake lens long term would really get me to get out with the camera and use it more. Is it gonna just get in the way as much as any other camera, or is it actually gonna make the difference between putting it in my bag or on a sling versus not? But does it really just come down to like a lifestyle decision? Because I think if you're not carrying a camera with you already, will one small change actually make it easier? It's a bit like when you first get like a gym membership and you convince yourself, well, I've paid for it now, I'm gonna go. And then you end up, you know, paying for several weeks where you never go to the gym. Yeah, it's happened to me a few times. Everything is much easier in theory than it is in practice. And that's important to remember if you don't already have a camera like this, like something small enough that you could carry it with you every day. If you're not already doing it and you're looking at buying something for the first time and you're considering spending a lot of money on a newer trendy Fuji or even like a Leica if you're feeling fancy, this can be a dangerous slippery slope. Because really, you want to pick up something cheap and cheerful that if you don't use it every day, you're not going to kick yourself about it. You want to get something, try it, and if you can carry that thing with you like every day for a month or a few months, then maybe after that point you know you're that kind of person, and then you can pick up the more expensive one. Going back to kind of like the gym comparison, it's like signing up for like a gym that's £100 a month, like a luxury gym, super nice, and if you're not getting the absolute most out of it, it's going to feel like a waste, compared to you could just go for the super cheap, like £15 a month or something like that. It's going to have rusty gear, you know, there's no staff, it's a bit dirty, but at least if you don't go, you're not wasting as much money. It's kind of like my logic with gyms and cameras. We're not going to a luxury gym. Maybe if I have a Leica, I'll go to the luxury gym. Those two things would work better together. I will say, you've got to love those Canon colours. Yeah, they are nice, especially when paired with these Fujifilm film stock presets. I actually prefer them with Kodak film stock presets. Why not use both? Both? And my naturally filmic presets. You save when you get all three together in a 3-pack bundle. I don't know. Sounds expensive. Well, here's a unique code for 20% off at checkout, in case you change your mind. Okay, I'll take a look via the link in the description. Now, if I had to compare this setup with another couple of mirrorless camera setups I've used with pancake lenses, how would I really compare it? Well, I'm just going to compare it with two setups in particular that I really used like extensively with just pancake lenses. The first of which is actually the Sony a6700. Much more high-end, very capable, but specifically because I used it with the Sony 20mm f2.8. And secondly, I'm going to compare it with the Lumix GX80 and the 20mm f1.7, because that actually feels like a much more comparable setup in general, and they both have the same kind of like waist level tilting LCD, so it feels like a fair comparison. Start comparing it with the A6700, and I guess you could throw in the A7C II here, the Pen F, anything with a fully articulating LCD. I have to say that I actually prefer the shooting experience of the M6 with having the waist level just behind the camera, similar to like the GX80 and the Fuji X-T2. It makes that kind of like just waist level street shooting experience much more engaging, and it feels less like I'm vlogging. However, on each of those cameras that I've just mentioned, we do have the ability to enter silent mode, or like electronic shutter mode, where we can actually just shoot without using the mechanical shutter, which on this M6 is incredibly loud. Now, when I compare this to just the Lumix GX80, I think I could actually recommend both of these cameras just as equally for different reasons. The GX80 has more bells and whistles. It has IBIS, the electronic shutter, whereas the M6 is going to be much better in low light, specifically with this lens, because this is a nice bright f2, and we've got an APS-C size sensor rather than a 4/3 sensor. And to be fair, the autofocus in video on this is significantly better than that of the GX80, which is not great. But that has IBIS and 4K, whereas this does not have IBIS and is only at 1080p. But both benefit from having great waist level shooting experience with awesome touchscreens to be able to navigate autofocus points and through the menu. And to be honest, in those two different ways, that's where I've actually found these to be the most similar in terms of shooting experience. So, which is better? Honestly, it's really down to preference. Okay, sure, but just between you and me, which one should I get? I think it'd have to be the camera in this video here. Oh, for real? I guess you'll have to watch and find out.